This program does not represent the views of this station and may be considered offensive to some listeners. This program may contain mature subject matter, including frank discussions of controversial topics. It is intended for mature, open-minded audiences. Discretion is highly advised. This program is entirely independently produced by and is copyrighted by Frank. It is broadcast here under license.
Hi, this is Anthony Colace, actor, and you're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles.
You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles, and I'm Frank because I have to be. On today's show, we are talking with Mr. Anthony Colace, who is a professional actor. Welcome to studio, Anthony.
Thank you for having me, Frank.
Let's start off with our very first question, where you were born, and different experiences you had in your life, which eventually led you to be a professional actor.
Well, I was born in Montreal. I'm now living in Toronto, but I was born in Montreal. My background is both my parents are Italian. My mom was actually born here in Canada, but my dad was born in Italy and immigrated here when he was 9. When it comes to acting, my family has been very supportive from the get-go. Ever since I was a child, I always liked to perform in front of people or just entertain people. And my parents always encouraged that. They never shunned me for it.
Is that something that's rare from the background you come from?
I would think so, but my parents are not the typical Italian family, we speak English at home as opposed to Italian, so and they're very open about a lot of things, and they saw that I was, when I finally did get into acting, which was way later on in my life, I was like 22 when I took my first acting course. They were like, okay, yeah, we'll see what he'll do, but they never said, no, don't do that, or what do you think you're doing, you'll never make it, or anything like that.
Can you think of something specific in where your parents supported you before you took your first acting course?
Many things. When I was in karate, for example, they would come to my tournaments and they'd encourage me to do well and practice, and they'd take me to class and things like that. So they were always very supportive in anything I decided to do.
And you said your first acting course you took when you were 22?
22, yes.
Prior to that, what acting experience had you garnered?
None, actually. I just like to imitate people I would see on TV. I would imitate various soap opera actors or wrestlers. And then people would always get a good laugh, and they would always tell me, oh, you should be an actor. And one of my first actual acting experiences or shows that I did for my... I was in kindergarten, and I faked a heart attack and fell down the stairs in front of the teacher, and she actually believed it. So that was the first thing I ever did as an actor that I can remember. I was about 5 years old.
Well, you sound like a bit of a troublemaker.
Yeah, I can be. All in good fun.
And the teacher actually believed it. What happened?
Well, she was like, my God, like, what's going on? And then she was like running down, and all the other kids didn't know what to make of it, because I didn't tell anyone. I just, oh my God, my heart, and I fell down the stairs. And I didn't get hurt or anything, and the teacher came running down, and then I just got up and was laughing, and she was like, didn't know what to do. She was stunned. She was half relieved that I was actually okay, and half, I think, wanted to kill me because of what I just did.
Well, understandably so.
And I was amused by it. Like, I enjoyed it. There was like a rush that just came.
22 years old, you're about to take your first acting class. How did you even come across?
I was working in a hospital at the time, and I was management, and I was just fed up. I said to myself, there's got to be more to life than just working. I was working many hours, I was making good money, but I was miserable. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. What do I want to do? And ever since I was young, I always liked watching movies, and I'd always say, I'd love to make movies, but nah, you can't do it. Like, to myself, I would say, no, you can't. It's too hard. And so one day I called up one of my cousins, and she's like, well, why don't you just look in the paper, find a school, and take a few courses? And I was like, yeah, it's not a bad idea. So I remember opening up the Gazette. I went and buy the Gazette, and I opened it up, and this acting school came up, and so I went there, and I took a course, and that's how it all started.
And what school did you go to?
The first one I went to was the New Actors Workshop. It's, I believe, still open. It's in Sherbrooke Street in Montreal. Well, actually, it's on Queen Mary. Sorry, Queen Mary.
And what was that experience like for you, given that you had the interest, but no prior experience?
Well, I went, and my teacher was Andreas Hussman, who is renowned in Montreal theater. He's pretty well known. He owned Imago Company for theater, and he was a very good teacher. And I remember at the end of the class, we put on a show, and a lot of people came up to me after the show, because you could invite your guests and friends over to watch, and they're like, so how long have you been an actor? Your scene was really good. And I'm like, this is my first class, my second scene. We had done one prior, but it wasn't in front of people. And a lot of people were like, wow, like they were really impressed. And my teacher said, you have something. And so I continued from there. He goes, you still need work. But he goes, there is something there. He goes, you're a diamond in the rough, and I'll never forget it. And he told me I could take direction well. And I just had something, so I continued from then on.
Do you remember exactly what the scene was?
House of Corrections was the actual scene. With the acting partner was Sam, and I go into his house and work my way in that I know him and his wife, but I really don't, and they know this, but they let me stay. And then I'm down in the basement. This is where the scene takes place, and I'm working on something. He comes home, and he's like, so what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm just building something, whatever. And he's like, I was speaking to my wife, like, when are you going to get out of here? Because, we really don't know you. And I just keep rambling on, and I'm like, you have such a nice bedroom. And he's like, what? It was like, and I basically tell him I slept with his wife, and he attacks me, and I put him down, and that was the scene. So it was very intense.
So you do that as a first scene.
Yeah.
People really liked it.
Yeah.
You felt that this was for you?
Well, I enjoyed the rush of just feeling the audience vibe. And it was just nothing else like it. Like, after that class, we went all out together as a group after the performances, and it was just like, the rush was just there. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
How many classes have you taken since then?
Afterwards, I moved on. I took a few more classes at that school with various teachers. Then that teacher, Andreas Hussman, opened up his own school called the Acting Project, which is now closed due to the fact that he moved to the U.S. So it closed down. But it was a school where a lot of talented actors came out of the original class that we worked in, and we made actually a film together, which has not been finished. It's still not edited completely, but it was a great school, and a lot of a lot of people got work out of us. Like, I moved on to Toronto, others went to Vancouver, some got a TV show or on TV, one did a couple Hollywood pictures. So a lot of the actors moved on from that school.
Do you remember any names that people might recognize?
Sean Hall, Kathleen Mackey, Jackie Alessien, they all came from that school. So it was a pretty, and even the actors that came after the initial class, the initial group as I call us, they also got work, various agents and things. So it was a very good atmosphere in the school.